Hi there guys, welcome to the video. Thank you very much for tuning in for a review of the RS7 from Foxeer. And a bit of an excuse me or sorry, this video potentially could cost you a lot of money because it's pretty positive. I like this quadcopter, so yeah, sorry about that. It's approximately like 500 euros or so that's a lot of dough. But well, a review, let's get into it. Here we go.
Serious?
So guys, a 7-inch quadcopter ready to fly from Foxeer, the RS7. And if you follow my channel, you know that I fly the RS5s a lot. So this RS7, what is it? Well, Foxeer calls this a long-range quadcopter. I was hoping when I ordered it that it would also be a freestylable quadcopter, as I'm not that much in long range. You might know, I'm more into high-speed cruising and or a little bit of freestyling. So, as mentioned, this video is pretty positive, so this quadcopter is definitely freestylable. It is also a very capable high-speed cruiser. Yeah, it's not perfect. I'll tell you about a couple of things I don't like about the quadcopter. Well, don't like, yeah. But it's mostly positive. So, like you see it here, with a GoPro 8 at the front, is what I flew it. Actually, I've only flown it with a GoPro. This kind of quadcopter can easily carry, obviously, a GoPro, a full-size GoPro. It's meant to be. And even with a GoPro on it, as you can see, there's a lot of room for lipos. Not only in length, but also in width, which is definitely one of the pros of this quadcopter. And so this is what I flew it like, and mostly with these lipos. 1800 120C 6S from C&HL. I've also flown it with these, which are a little bit bigger, 2000 milliamp hours 6S, but these are 100C. And yeah, it's mostly actually the shape that I don't like of that. As you can see, it could have been a lot longer for these kinds of quadcopters and less wide, which would have benefited the center of gravity. It would have made the quadcopter more maneuverable. Yeah, so, but still, these lipos both work well. But I also flew the quadcopter with this here lipo, a GNB 2800 6S. And it's a great lipo, very capable lipo, and definitely your flight times improve from this lipo, obviously. But it also becomes a lumbering giant, if you know what I mean. The acceleration is kind of gone, the top speed is the same, basically. But freestylable it's no longer with a heavy lipo like this. But again, obviously your flight times will improve. Okay, so for me this was the optimal combination. The RS7 with a GoPro and this 1800 120C C&HL lipo. And again, I would have very much liked to have the same lipo but longer and narrower. But this worked out well. And with this lipo I get flight times of approximately 5-6 minutes, which is fine. Mixed flight, so high-speed cruising, a little bit of trickery and such. And if you would go for long flight times, I don't really know. I haven't had the patience, to be honest. Yeah, but I think you could easily get to 8 minutes with a lipo like this. Just cruising it. Okay, so that's the setup I flew it like most with this lipo and a GoPro 8. So this video is a review. I'd like to keep it as short as possible. I'll also do a short unboxing in which you can see what you get for your money, right? So this here is the version with the 2806.5 motors in 1350 kV version. There's also a higher kV version like 7050, I think, which would be better for 4S specs, right? Lithium ion potentially, probably. Yeah, so I have the 6S version, and to me this is perfect. I like these motors. I like the size. These motors are a nice go-in between freestylable and cruising and endurance motors. Also, I got a DJI digital version with the Vista setup. So I still have a version 1 goggle. And yeah, I'm actually wondering if I should invest in the 03 goggle or is it a version 2 goggle basically. There's also a version with HD0 and you can also get an analog version of this quadcopter and a version with the 03 setup, DJI 03 setup. And actually I'm interested to see what my viewers nowadays fly. Are you flying analog still maybe, or what digital setup do you currently fly? Do you have a version 1, a version 2, an 03 goggle, or basically a version 2 goggle, or HD0 potentially? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd be very interested to see what you watching this video fly in 2023. Okay, so let's see. Foxeer electronics, kinda like bulletproof, right? They're not the cheapest, but I've had kinda couple of quadcopters by now with their stacks. Self-built. This is yeah, the first pre-built quadcopter from Foxeer I have. Yeah, again, bulletproof. And the entire quadcopter is well built. The soldering is immaculate. The only thing, and that's one of the downsides in my humble opinion to this quadcopter, is the wire mesh you see over here, the exposed wire mesh. I don't like the side of it. It can potentially get snagged on things if you get the quadcopter hung up in a tree, for instance. That won't fare well. Some kind of protection for those wires would have been nice. It also looks unfinished in my humble opinion. And while I'm at it, the second thing I don't like about this quadcopter is these plastic covers for the motor wires. And yeah, a lot of pre-built quadcopters nowadays have these covers. And probably the building, so the cost of the quadcopter in factory is lower by doing this. Putting tape on this on these wires is more laborious probably. So yeah, but if you get a prop strike on these covers, they shatter, after which they are more like knives to your motor wire. So yeah, a little bit of tape works better. You'd have yourself a more durable quadcopter with just tape at the right spots. Okay, so those are two things I didn't like about the quadcopter. You might have expected me to complain about these propellers. These are the foldable propellers version 2. The version 1s had plastic hubs, and these have aluminium, probably metal hubs. But no, that's not, to me at least, not a downside of this quadcopter. I did have to add a little bit more filtering to the quadcopter than I was expecting. And is it due to the propellers? I don't know. Maybe it's a frame. I simply don't know. But actually, I'll get to that in a couple of minutes when I show you my setup for this quadcopter, my Betaflight setup. It's not far from the stock Betaflight actually, but I definitely did have to change a couple of things. Speaking of the Betaflight version on the quadcopter that came on it was pretty recent, I think 4.3.1, definitely not all, so that's nice. Also, I have the version with a crossfire receiver built in. You can get this quadcopter with two different kinds of FR-Sky receivers, the XM Plus or the RXSR. You can get, well, crossfire as I have it here. You can get Express ELRS in it, or no receiver if you want to use some kind of other receiver and build it in yourself. Okay, so like most, at least like the RF5s, this frame is very sturdy and stiff. However, I haven't really crashed it. I've had a couple of unfortunate landings, but nothing out of the ordinary. So I can't speak for the durability of this quadcopter. I do like its looks, and the design makes it so that you don't have propellers in view. That might be important to you. Other than that, it's been fine. And you can also get it with TPU in different colors. Colors? No, one other color. Yellow. Yellow is green, and this teal. You can't get it in gray. Would have been nice probably, But to me personally, this is the best looking version. Yeah. Last thing I should mention probably is the camera. This is a Foxeer obviously camera, right? They started out with cameras, I think. And this is the Foxeer Apollo camera. A DJI digital setup, right? But a Foxeer camera. Not the most popular combination probably. But I like the camera. It definitely doesn't look worse than, say, the DJI digital camera. You don't get all the options as with the DJI digital camera though. For instance, if you mount it upside down, you can't switch it in the goggle, for instance. I haven't run into other things that I was missing with the camera though. Yeah, also I must add to that I'm not all that critical on cameras somehow. I mostly like most cameras if they perform decently. But yeah, this is maybe if they are a lot cheaper, these Foxeer cameras, they would definitely be a good option if you can't maybe get your hands on the DJI camera or the Caddx camera. And I like this camera better than the RunCam DJI digital cameras. Okay, so good all round, I think, right? Couple of downsides. This wire mesh and these covers, but yeah, again, if you are in the market of a ready to fly, you can't avoid these covers kinda. The propellers are fine. I haven't had any problems with these propellers at all, and they definitely make transporting and storing the quadcopter a lot easier, right? Especially with a 7-inch quadcopter like this. Tightens right down. Very nice. Okay, so very positive all round. It's not a cheap quadcopter, but what is these days, right? Most quadcopters, and especially if you get into the digital realm, are expensive. So 500 euros or dollars, more or less the same these days, is not inexpensive, but not extraordinarily expensive either. I think you get your money's worth in 2023 with this quadcopter. So having said all that, let's have a look at the Betaflight setup. Alrighty, we are in Betaflight, and again 4.3.1. And let's see, what did I change on the settings of this quadcopter? First thing I changed is the arming angle. Somehow that was left on stock, so you definitely want to change that to 180. Why? Well, if you crash your quadcopter and it ends up upside down or hung up in a tree, you wouldn't be able to arm it otherwise. So yeah, in most cases, especially if you're an experienced pilot, you want to set that to 180. And the quadcopter doesn't come with a buzzer stock, so I set these two sliders to RX lost and RX set. So you can, well, make the quadcopter at least beep a little. It would be a better thing to simply add a buzzer, right? There's lots of space in the quadcopter. Alright, I think air mode wasn't always on, but well, I switched it on, a personal thing, you don't need that. Alright, that was that. Okay, then PLE tuning. I've set the damping D gates over here to 1.1. Actually, we need expert mode. No, we don't. Yeah, oh yeah, if you run like a lithium-ion pack, I'd set the master manipulator to 1.1 probably. To have a little more, well, authority to add some authority to the PLE settings. Yeah, but on an 1800 like I flew it with a full GoPro, 1.1 dampening was all it took. Right, okay, I've changed my rates, which are my personal rates. Then I first flew the quadcopter with a gyro filter multiplier set to 1.2. As well, most of my 7-inch quadcopters I fly like this. I couldn't get away with that. There was some pitch wobble to the quadcopter at higher speeds, so I have had to revert to 1 on the gyro. I did also disable gyro low pass 1, which is what I do on most quadcopters. You probably also do that. So that did work. and determiner filter manipulator to 1.2. I think it was 1. Basically the quadcopter came with stock Betaflight, right? So it came like this, like so, right? So okay, so I disabled gyro low pass 1. I set the D turn to 1.2, and on most of my other quadcopters, when they are well constructed, I can set the gyro multiplier to 1.2, but no, not on this quad. And again, I don't know if that's because of the propellers or the frame. I simply don't know. So, but this, like this, as you see it here, the quadcopter flew immaculate, in my humble opinion. Okay, so I also changed the OSD, which is a personal thing, obviously. And that's basically it. Oh, I changed the modes, right? The flight modes. These are the flight modes. Well, I kind of only fly acro, but for line of sight, sometimes it's handy to be bringing the quadcopter back to you with auto leveling. Okay, so yeah, that's it. So guys, the RS7 from Foxeer, I'd recommend it. Having said that, 7-inch quadcopters are a little bit more of a niche than say 5-inch quadcopters, right? And they require more space, the Lipos are more expensive, yeah, the quadcopter itself is a little bit more expensive than a 5-inch. So yeah, but still, if you are looking for a nice 7-inch and potentially one that flies more or less like a 5-inch, then this is a great choice. It doesn't fly exactly like a 5-inch obviously, but for instance the altitude moderation, keeping it level at the same altitude is very easy. Flying it low at the deck is easy with this quadcopter and probably easier than with most 7 inches. So those are my findings. I like the quadcopter, and yeah, I have no affiliation with Foxeer. The link in the description is not an affiliate link, so I have no stake in it. But I personally liked this quadcopter. I was happy to have it in and try it. I've enjoyed, even though, by the way, it was freezing in all the flights, I enjoyed flying this quadcopter. And that's it. If you are left with questions about this quadcopter or anything else, don't hesitate to ask in the comment section below. For now, I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video. Bye bye.